He had faced many demons in his life, but this one had claws. A deep, guttural sound ripped through the silence of his campsite, and the thin wall of his tent was the only thing separating him from the hulking shadow outside. His heart hammered against his ribs, a frantic drumbeat in the vast, indifferent wilderness. Every survival instinct screamed, but his body was frozen in sheer terror. This is the story of how a journey for peace became a fight for life. Welcome to THUY Survival Life. We invite you to listen to the story. It began with a simple desire for escape. An escape from the noise, the deadlines, and the crushing weight of a life that no longer felt like his own. He walked away from the concrete world, carrying only what he needed to survive on his back. Each step into the dense woods was a deliberate act of severing ties with his past. Out here, the only shadows that followed him were cast by the ancient trees, silent witnesses to a solitary pilgrimage. With a practiced eye, he scanned the horizon, not just looking for a path, but reading the land itself. Survival isn't just about strength, it's about observation and understanding the rhythm of the wild. He moved with a quiet confidence, his camouflaged gear blending into the tapestry of the forest. He was a ghost in this green world, trying to become a part of it, not just a visitor. The colossal trees towered over him, their branches reaching for a sky of impossible blue. It was a humbling sight, a potent reminder of how small he was in this vast ecosystem. He chose his spot carefully, a small clearing where he could build a temporary home. Location is everything. It determines your access to resources and your safety from the elements. The forest floor was a complex web of life and decay. Every bush, every fallen leaf, played a role in this intricate natural system that he was now a part of. His knife was more than a tool. It was an extension of his will, a key to unlocking the resources the forest offered, from carving tools to preparing firewood. Through his own lens, he documented his journey, perhaps as a record for himself or as a lesson for others. He understood that this experience was worth preserving. With purpose, he knelt and began to work the earth. The first task was always the same: shelter torch, a defense against the cold, the rain, and the things that creep in the night. He cleared the ground, not with brute force, but with a methodical patience. The wilderness rewards deliberation and punishes haste. Next, he needed structure. He selected a fallen tree, its wood seasoned by time, perfect for the framework of his shelter. Every cut was precise. He wasted no energy, a critical discipline when calories are a finite and precious resource. Surrounding him was a living pantry and hardware store. The challenge was knowing how to use it. The forest provides for those who understand its language. He continued to shape his small clearing, digging into the rich soil to create a foundation for his temporary home. He worked tirelessly, his movements efficient and rhythmic. This wasn't just manual labor. It was a form of meditation, a way to focus his mind and purpose. The sharp sound of his blade against wood echoed through the trees. It was the sound of civilization being carved into the wild, one small piece at a time. He held up a sturdy piece of wood, the main support for his shelter. It was a small victory, but out here, survival is built on a foundation of small victories. He paused his work, taking a moment to survey his surroundings. Constant awareness is the golden rule of survival. Complacency can be a fatal mistake. With his pack nearby, he knew he had the essentials. But true survival skill lies in using what nature provides, not just what you can carry. The forest was a maze of green and brown, beautiful yet disorienting. It's a place where one can find themselves, but also easily lose their way. From a distance, the woods could seem like a peaceful painting. But up close, it was a dynamic, sometimes brutal, world of constant struggle and competition. He continued processing wood for his shelter and for his fire. Fire is the heart of any camp. It provides warmth, cooks food, purifies water, and keeps predators at bay. Once the primary frame was built, he ventured back into the dense foliage to gather more materials for his shelter's walls and roof. Nature's own construction materials lay all around him. A fallen tree offered a bounty of branches and logs for his project. With a sturdy saw, he began breaking down a large branch. The right tool for the job makes all the difference, saving precious energy and time. He carried his prize back to camp. Each trip was a calculated effort, bringing him one step closer to security for the night ahead. The sun began to dip lower, filtering through the dense canopy. The forest changes as day turns to night, and he knew he was racing against the clock. He chose another log, carefully assessing its quality before making a cut. Resourcefulness is key. Every piece of wood has a purpose. The rhythmic buzzing of his saw was a strangely human sound in this wild place, a testament to ingenuity. He carried the larger logs on his shoulder, his body straining with the effort. The wilderness demands physical resilience. He continued to gather and cut, stockpiling what he would need. Preparation is the difference between thriving and merely surviving. His pile of processed wood grew steadily, a reassuring sight as the air began to cool. He was building a fortress against the encroaching night. He held a long straight pole, perhaps for the roof of his shelter or a tool. In the wild, you learn to see the potential in everything. A brief moment of levity. Even in the midst of hardship, the human spirit finds ways to express itself, a small sign of peace amidst the struggle. He scrambled up a tree, not for play, but for a better vantage point. Seeing the lay of the land from above can reveal resources or dangers hidden at ground level. He moved through the trees like a wraith, his focus absolute. He chose isolation to confront his inner world. What do you think is the biggest challenge of being truly alone? Let us know in the comments. He tested a handmade bow. The ability to hunt can mean the difference between a full stomach and starvation, but it requires immense skill and patience. Now, he turns his attention to another critical need: water. Here he is clearing debris from a small spring, ensuring his source is clean. The repetitive work continued, each action building upon the last. He carefully shaped a piece of wood, perhaps creating a tool or a part for his shelter. Craftsmanship is a skill as valuable as brute strength. His face, etched with focus, tells a story of determination. He is completely immersed in the present moment, a state of mind that is essential for survival. He looked out from under the brim of his hat, his senses on high alert. You don't just watch the forest. You listen to it, smell it, and feel its subtle shifts. With his shelter framework in place, he needed to find water. Thirst is a more immediate and relentless enemy than hunger. He followed the subtle clues of the landscape, knowing that low-lying areas and certain types of vegetation often signal a nearby water source. Success. He found a small, clear stream, a lifeline in the middle of the wilderness. The relief is palpable. He knelt by the water's edge, a moment of quiet gratitude. Finding this stream was a major victory in his quest for self-sufficiency. The cool, clear water was a priceless treasure. He could drink, cook, and clean. This small stream made his chosen campsite viable for the long term. He filled his container, savoring the simple act. In our modern lives, we take clean water for granted. Here, it is a blessing earned through effort and knowledge. With a full bucket, he made her way back to camp. Notice the efficiency of his movements, conserving energy for the tasks still ahead. His camera was always ready, capturing the raw beauty and the harsh realities of his environment. The stream was more than just a resource. It was a place of tranquility, its gentle murmur a soothing soundtrack to his solitary existence. He framed his shot, composing an image that would convey the feeling of being there. It's one thing to see the forest, another to truly experience it. Back at camp, his tent stood as a small bastion of order against the untamed wild. It was his sanctuary. Suddenly, a startling sight. A young bear, agile and powerful, scales a tree with ease. It's a stark reminder that he is not the apex predator here. The encounter, though distant, shifted the atmosphere. He became more cautious, his movements more deliberate as he walked back to his camp. The sight of the bear prompted him to keep his rifle close. While he hoped never to use it, preparedness is a non-negotiable part of survival. He threw himself back into his work, perhaps to distract himself from the new, tangible threat that now occupied his mind. He used a brush of pine needles to insulate his shelter, a clever use of natural materials to trap heat and provide comfort. He stood for a moment, contemplating his work. Building a shelter is like solving a complex puzzle with materials provided by nature. His posture reflects a deep connection with his surroundings. He's no longer just an observer. He is an active participant in the life of the forest. With the main structure complete, he began the final steps of setting up his tent inside the shelter, creating a double layer of protection. Exhausted from the day's labor, he finally rested inside his creation. Sleep is a vital component of survival, allowing the body and mind to recover. His temporary home was complete. A testament to his skill and perseverance, it offered a much-needed sense of security. With his axe by his side, he sat and watched the forest, listening to its evening chorus begin. He was ready for the night. He made final adjustments, ensuring his shelter was as weatherproof and secure as possible. Attention to detail is crucial. The process of creating a home in the wild, no matter how temporary, is deeply satisfying. It fulfills a primal human need for safety and comfort. He stood proudly beside his work. He hadn't conquered nature, but had instead worked with it to carve out a small space for himself. Inside his shelter, he found a profound sense of peace. He was protected from the elements, a king in his own small handcrafted castle. His setup was ingenious, a tent within a natural debris hut. This provides excellent insulation and camouflage. Night fell, and he drifted off to sleep, his body finally succumbing to the demands of a long day of physical labor. Morning arrived. As the first light filtered through the trees, he was already up and moving, patrolling the area around his camp. Inside his tent, he sharpened his knife. A sharp blade is a safe blade, and a reliable tool is a survivor's best friend. This daily ritual of tool maintenance is a discipline. It's a quiet moment of focus before the day's challenges begin. He examined a piece of wood, likely for a fire drill or another tool. The ability to create what you need from scratch is the ultimate survival skill. He checked his phone, a strange link to the world he left behind. Perhaps it was a GPS, a map, or just a powerless reminder of his old life. Even in total isolation, the pull of technology can be a powerful habit to break. It represents a connection, however faint, to the life he abandoned. He put the device away and returned his focus to his knife. In this world, the sharp steel in his hand was infinitely more valuable than the glass screen. It was time to gather more firewood. A camp's hunger for fuel is constant, and keeping a healthy supply is a primary chore. He held the blade with a familiarity that spoke of countless hours of practice. His tools were not just objects. They were partners in his survival. He knelt down to inspect the ground, perhaps looking for animal tracks or edible insects. The forest floor is a book filled with information for those who know how to read it. He organized his camp, a place for everything and everything in its place. Order and discipline are mental tools that help manage the chaos of the wild. With his shelter secure, his next priority was food. He began preparing for his first cooked meal in the new camp. With a shovel, he started digging a fire pit. This contains the flames, focuses the heat for cooking, and reduces the risk of a wildfire. Safety first. He continued to improve his camp, adding layers of debris to his shelter for better insulation and protection from the rain. The work was endless, but deeply rewarding. He wasn't just surviving. He was building a life with his own two hands. He sat inside his tent, a brief respite from the physical labor. These moments of rest are just as important as the work itself. With his fire pit ready, he prepared to cook. The prospect of a hot meal provides a huge psychological boost in a survival situation. He carefully tended to his small stove. Controlling the heat is key to cooking a good meal without wasting precious fuel. He held a metal pot, his simple and reliable cookware. In the wild, you learn to appreciate the value of durable, multi-purpose gear. He fetched water from the bucket he had filled earlier, the reward for his foresight and planning. The process of cooking a meal became a comforting ritual, a familiar act of domesticity in a profoundly unfamiliar environment. He expertly arranged the wood for his fire. Building a successful fire is a science, requiring an understanding of airflow, tinder, and fuel. With the pot simmering, he waited. Patience is a virtue rarely practiced in the modern world, but it's a necessity out here. The aroma of food cooking over an open flame is one of the most satisfying smells known to man, a primal signal of comfort and sustenance. He sat peacefully, watching his meal cook. This quiet moment is his reward for a day of hard, intelligent work. He had everything he needed. Shelter from the elements, fire for warmth, and food on the way. He had achieved a state of primitive contentment. He stirred the pot, the simple action connecting him to generations of ancestors who survived in this very way. Every meal in the wild is a hard-won victory. What is the one modern convenience you think you would miss the most in this situation? He watched the flames dance, a mesmerizing and ancient form of entertainment. It's easy to understand why early humans revered fire. The fire crackled and popped, a welcome companion in the immense silence of the woods. Finally, it was time to eat. He savored the first bite, the culmination of all his effort. The taste of self-reliance is incredibly sweet. He ate slowly and deliberately. When you've worked this hard for a meal, you don't rush it. You appreciate every single calorie. His expression is one of deep satisfaction. This is more than just food. It's fuel, morale, and the product of his own skill and effort. Eating inside his shelter, he was completely in his element. He had built this small world, and in it, he was safe and sustained. He enjoyed a drink with his meal. Staying hydrated is just as important as eating, especially after a day of strenuous physical activity. With a full stomach, a sense of calm settled over him. His immediate needs were met. For now, the struggle was over. He leaned back, reflecting on his journey. He came here to escape, but what he found was a deeper connection to himself. He relaxed completely, the stress of his former life melting away in the warmth of his campfire and the security of his shelter. The simple comforts he had created felt more luxurious than any five-star hotel, because he had earned them. As night deepened, he prepared for sleep, the faint glow of his phone a final fleeting link to the outside world before he surrendered to rest. His campfire burned steadily, a lone star in the deep darkness of the forest, warding off the cold and the unseen creatures of the night. The next day, a new project. He began digging again, perhaps creating a root cellar to store food or a more permanent fire pit. He returned to the comforting ritual of cooking, a rhythm that now defined his days. The work is hard, but the routine provides structure and purpose. He enjoyed a warm drink, a simple pleasure that feels like the height of luxury in the wilderness. He carefully stored his water bottle inside the tent. Protecting your clean water supply from contamination is a critical, often overlooked task. He continued to make improvements to his camp, driven by the desire not just to survive, but to thrive in his new environment. His campsite had become a well-ordered, functional home. He was a testament to what a single person can achieve with knowledge, determination, and respect for nature. Sleep came easily after a hard day's work. With a pillow under his head, he found a level of comfort that seemed impossible just a few days ago. Tucked into his sleeping bag, he was cocooned against the cold night air. Proper sleep gear is essential for recovery and maintaining energy levels. With his hood pulled up, he blocked out the last remnants of light, surrendering completely to a deep and restorative slumber. He was at peace, his mind free from the anxieties that had plagued him in his old life. Here, the challenges were real and immediate, and so were the rewards. The next morning, he stood outside his shelter, greeting the day. Each sunrise felt like a gift, a new opportunity to learn and grow. The morning sun streamed through the trees, casting long shadows and illuminating his camp. It was a beautiful and peaceful start to the day. He sat in his tent, planning his tasks for the day. Should he hunt, forage, or continue to improve his shelter? Every decision mattered. He decided to prepare food first, ensuring he had the energy for whatever lay ahead. A good meal is the best way to start a demanding day. He found a comfortable spot to sit and work, completely at home in the environment he had shaped for himself. He worked a piece of wood in his hands, his fingers moving with skill and confidence. He was no longer a stranger in this land. He belonged here. He leaned back against his shelter, taking a moment to simply exist, to breathe the clean air and feel the sun on his face. These moments of quiet contemplation were as vital as any of the physical tasks. They were the reason he had come here in the first place. His camp was his world, and he was its sole inhabitant. He was the master of his own small, quiet universe. He began preparing another meal, his movements now an effortless routine. He had found a rhythm that was in sync with the natural world around him. He used a stick to carefully tend his fire, a simple tool used with expert precision. He understood the nuances of fire management. His blue bag held essential supplies, but he was becoming less and less reliant on them as his knowledge of the forest grew. The fire blazed to life, ready to transform his gathered ingredients into another nourishing meal. Cooking over an open fire is a skill that requires constant attention. A moment of distraction can turn a meal into a burnt offering to the wilderness. He took a moment to enjoy a small treat, a simple pleasure that brought a smile to his face. Morale is a critical survival tool. He looked up at the endless canopy of green. The forest was his home, his teacher, and his sanctuary. The sheer scale of the wilderness was immense. It was a powerful reminder of nature's enduring strength and beauty. His gaze was steady and calm. The forest had tested him, but it had also given him a sense of peace he had never known. He stood tall and confident, a man who had faced the wilderness and himself, and had emerged stronger. He rehydrated with a cup of water, a simple but essential act of self-care. He picked up his camera again, driven to capture the profound experience he was living. He settled in for the evening, a routine that was now second nature. But this night would be different. It began with the subtle sound, a branch snapping in the distance. He paused his cooking, straining his ears to listen. Then he heard it again, closer this time, a heavy, shuffling sound. It was not the light-footed movement of a deer. He quickly doused his fire, plunging his camp into darkness. His heart began to pound. He remembered the bear he had seen earlier. He peered out from his tent, his eyes wide, trying to penetrate the inky blackness. Faced with a predator, the instinct is fight or flight. What would you do in this situation? A moment of nervous habit, a vice from his old life, resurfaced in the face of fear. But he quickly extinguished the cigarette, knowing the light was a beacon. He stood motionless, trying to become one with the shadows. His mind raced, cycling through every survival scenario he had ever studied. A massive shape emerged from the trees. It was the bear. It sniffed the air, drawn by the lingering scent of his dinner. This was the ultimate test. All his skills, all his knowledge, were now focused on this single, terrifying moment. He watched the creature, his gaze locked on the unpredictable animal. He knew that any sudden move could be his last. He backed slowly into his tent, grabbing 2 metal pots. He had to make himself seem large and threatening, not like prey. He stood his ground. He knew running was the worst possible option. It would trigger the bear's predatory instinct. He took a deep breath, and then smashed the pots together, creating a deafening clang that shattered the night's silence. The bear was startled by the sudden, unnatural noise. It paused, confused and wary. He shouted, making his voice as deep and loud as he could. He continued his desperate symphony, a one-man band fighting for his life. The bear took a hesitant step back. He saw a glimmer of hope. His quick thinking was working. He wasn't overpowering the beast, he was outsmarting it. With another loud shout and a clash of metal, the bear decided this strange, noisy creature wasn't worth the trouble. It turned and lumbered back into the darkness of the forest. He watched it go, his body trembling with adrenaline. He was safe. The immediate danger had passed, but the encounter would be seared into his memory forever. He had faced the raw power of the wilderness, and had survived not with force, but with intelligence and courage. He held the pots in his hands, his makeshift weapons. They were a symbol of his victory. He took a moment to compose himself, his breathing slowly returning to normal. The experience had changed him. He understood the forest on a deeper level now, its beauty, and its ever-present danger. In the morning light, he revisited the events of the night, analyzing what he did right. Every encounter is a lesson. He picked up his bow, a reminder of the constant need for vigilance and preparedness. He held his knife, feeling the solid weight of the steel. He had proven that his most valuable weapon was his mind. The grass was green and peaceful, showing no signs of the dramatic encounter that had taken place just hours before. He shouldered his pack, ready to continue his journey. He was not defeated or scared away. He was humbled and enlightened. He knelt one last time at his campsite, a place of learning and profound transformation. He stood up and took his first step away from the camp, not as an escapee from the city, but as a student of the wilderness. He walked into the sunlight, his perspective forever changed. He had come to the woods to find peace, but instead he had found his own strength. His journey was far from over, but he now walked with a new understanding of himself and his place in the natural world. He looked back one last time, a silent gesture of respect to the wild place that had tested him and taught him so much. If you enjoyed this story, please like and share this video, and leave a comment with your thoughts. Don't forget to subscribe to the THUY Survival Life channel and hit the notification bell so you never